Hi, welcome to the Space Bin website. This is a video toolbox to help you change components on a space bin, hopefully ending any confusion and making your job easier and quicker. Today we have to change the bin lift height to accept different bins. So there's an adjustment on there, they're about 40 mil increments. At the moment this one is in the lowest position. If it was in the highest position, it might be a little bit easier, but basically overall it's going to be the same. We'll run through what you need to do the job. We need a couple of 12 mil spanners or 13s depending. This is for the gas strut and the bin lift adjustment bolts. So I'd take a couple each side, 11s, 12, 13, 14s. It just depends on what bolts are supplied with the machine. You'll need circlip pliers to get the strut pin out of the bottom. Number 2 Phillips to get the back off. You'll need a bin sense switch override tool. There's a section on how to make that. You're also going to need 4 blocks of wood. Now these were just screwed together. You want something fairly chunky because the bin lift is actually going to balance on these in 4 corners when we get to that point. So if you find a 90x90, just cut it to 150 mil each or whatever, that's fine too. But it needs something reasonably secure. First thing we'll do is we'll go around and secure the machine. We want to disconnect it from the mains power. We want to put the brakes on to stop it from rolling around. I'll grab the bin sense override tool. As I said, there is a section on making this and how to install it, but you're going to see it here as well. So the hook goes around the rope and the other part goes through the hole. So that pulls on that rope and now it thinks it's got a bin in it. We can run it without a bin, which is what we want to do. We want to collapse the whole machine together. We want the pressing plate right down and the bin lift will just lift up a tiny bit. This is much safer to work on. Nothing can come crashing down then. So pull your door down. So at the moment, the pressing plate's going down. When it gets to the bottom, it stops momentarily for maybe a second, not quite. As soon as it stops, we want to lift the door, press an E-stop to stop the machine. That's in the position we want it then. So as soon as you hear it stop, lift the door, maybe push an E-stop or turn the key off, there's security. I'll grab the blocks of wood. As I said, we've got 4 of them because we want to put 1 under each corner. Now at the moment, as you can see, this bin lift is too low. So we've got to get it up to get these blocks under there. So we're going to go around and show you how to do that. If this bin lift were in its highest position, those blocks would fit straight under it. Then you could do all the work and then drop it down. We've taken the back off and some of the bolts aren't in where they should be at the moment, but I'll show you where they all are. Series of screws across the top and down the side. That gets rid of the back plate, put it aside. In the bin lift, as you can see, there's a series of holes at the top. And on the other side, there's a series of holes on that and 1 in the bottom. So there's 4 bolts. Now we've taken the 2 bottom bolts out at the moment, just to speed things up. So if you're doing the job, you can take the 2 nuts off the bottom bolts and kind of free them up, leave the top 2 in at the moment. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to get the pin out. Now we've taken the circlip off. As you can see, this is all nice and free. So once we pull the pin out, you want to be able to pull your strut out. Now this whole assembly will float upwards if you just put a bit of weight on him. And that's what we want. We want to get that all the way in the up position. Now we can get our blocks of wood under the front. So as I said, we want to put one under each corner. So now we're going to disconnect one of the gas struts. You can take your pick, doesn't matter which one. I've picked this one. So the nut's already loose. That's these ones here, number 12s. I'm not sure what will be on it, just depends on how they're supplied. So you want to just push down, get your strut out. Now once again, you can still lift that up and down. There's not a lot of weight on it. So at the moment, that's sitting on those blocks. Now if you put a bit of weight, you can see that bolt's nice and loose now. So we can get that nut off of there. And get that bolt out. And this is what we want. We're going to be able to get the bolts out. And because this cage assembly floats up and down, then we can push it up or down and pick up whatever holes we need to suit the bin that the customer has. So I've got the bolts out now. And just be careful of your hands here. There's not a lot of weight there, but you know, it could pinch them. So at the moment, like I said, so we want to go down now. We want to get this up in the highest position, for example. So we can push that all the way down. And we can pick up that hole. So you may have to jiggle it a little bit to get the bolts in. But the fact that it's sitting on those blocks of wood, it's nice and secure, so it's not going to go anywhere. So put your 2 bottom bolts in. I would tighten all them up because you're done with that part of it now. You've got the adjustment that you want. I said we've picked up the top hole, but you could have just lifted that up and picked up the middle hole. So once that's floating, it doesn't make any difference after that. After those bolts are tight, we want to hook up the gas strut again. We want to do that so that we can get some weight on this so it'll push it up and we can get our blocks of wood out. So at the moment, the strut's in the way. That should be in the highest position anyway. The block of wood will come out, but if it were reversed, we'd have to do this. So now that that's lifted up, we can then remove the blocks of wood, get them out of the way. Put them back in your toolbox, wherever you're going to carry them. Now the next thing is we've got to reconnect the actuator. Once again, we can push down on this. The strut basically drops back into place. Have to jiggle around, put the pin in. Make sure you put your circlip on. Make sure your bolts are tight. We talked about that. Make sure the nut on the strut's tight. Once again, make sure your circlip's on the pin. Put your back on. You'll want to pull the door down, run your pressing plate up, remove your override tool, and that should be the job finished.